I looked back and the figure stood outside the main entrance. I felt its eyes on us as the growths sprouting from its head waved and twisted, as if they were caught in some invisible undersea current. This was the only information posted alongside this photograph of what appears to be an anomalous creature. This entity was documented by Trevor Henderson, who rightfully took a dump all over the Foundation's anomaly report process. Who has time for it? It's like going to the DMV. While this might not seem like a lot of information, there are just enough clues in this post to theorize on what this creature could possibly be. One theory I have is that this is an animal in some way related to undersea worms. That sounds a bit far-fetched, but just bear with me here. The head of this person bears a striking resemblance to a few species of undersea worms, and while not a perfect fit, when you take into account the few sentences that Trevor left alongside this image, it begins to make more sense. More specifically, I believe that this entity is an undocumented and possibly anomalous species of Osedax worm. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but I'm banking that you don't either. Osedax worms are worms that typically survive by burrowing into whale bones. They have no mouth or internal digestive system, which is refreshing because most of these critters are just full of gross red stuff. These worms rely on a symbiotic bacteria to digest the fats and oils in the bones for them. I believe that this image depicts an Osedax worm that, through either anomalous or evolutionary means, made the adaptation to prey on humans rather than whales. Of course, this is just one theory, but all I'm saying is, unless I'm mistaken, human heads ain't supposed to look like that, man. Whereas a whale carcass can sustain a micro-ecosystem for years due to its large size, human bodies are not as well endowed. I'm not referring to the fact that whale dicks are 8 to 10 feet on average, and you can Google that. I'm referring to the fact that when an Osedax worm gets into a human's neck, it tends to suck them dry like a fat kid with a Capri Sun. Hence, a human Osedax infestation would likely be fatal. It's unknown how these worm eggs infect their hosts, but similar to the oceanic species of Osedax, it's likely that they have larvae that can latch onto the human head, feasting on the brain of the person first, incapacitating them, and proceeding to use acids to dissolve the rest of the human skeleton in meaty bits. In the water, these larvae move with the current. I see no reason they couldn't use air currents on land as well, floating en masse along the wind until one happens to get in contact with a human, after which they burrow under the skin and make their way to the brain to begin the infestation process. If you're a fan of Trevor Henderson, or of my show for some godforsaken reason, it would be hard to look at this entity and not notice a thematic similarity to several other Trevor Henderson creatures. Previously, I documented another anomaly that Trevor reported on, the invasive species of anomalous birds appearing in forest ecosystems. These creatures were controlled by the Pacific Northwestern Forest lamprey, an anomaly that reportedly used dead animals as hosts by sliding in one of their orifices and puppeting their head meatball. In a later installment, a similar creature showed that these entities had made the leap to controlling humans. I believe that undersea current is a different species of parasite that functions similarly to those two entities, although this is a new third style of feeding that is yet to be seen. Whereas the bird and human variants were predatory and scavengers in strategy, using their host to hunt other creatures, this variety has no mouthparts or attacky bits of any kind. It rather acts as a predator in a different fashion. Rather than using its host to feed on other animals, it uses its host like a typical disease does, as an infection transmission vector. Like some sort of STD-based vigilante giving HIV to sex criminals who escape jail time through legal loopholes. Who is my original OC, by the way. Seriously, if you take my idea for the AIDS Avenger, consider yourself a dead man. What the hell am I talking about again? The worm drives its host to go to high population areas, or when that isn't possible, follow individuals. It releases hormones like cortisol and adrenaline to put the individual under stress, and then through unknown means, the worm compels the host to pursue hyperpopulated areas of humanity. The goal of the worm is to get the host in close proximity to as many potential new hosts as possible before its consumption of the human leads it to falling apart. Upon the host's death, the worm can actually continue to move the body, but eventually, feeding on the muscles and bones of the host will limit its mobility. When the human juice box runs out, the worm have no food left, and since it can't move of its own accord, it has one final trick up its foreskin. Like a water balloon, or the condom that led to your creation, the worm-ridden human head will burst, releasing a thick gooey cloud of larvae into the air. Physical contact or inhalation of the worm cum will lead to subsequent infestation. Nature is just so beautiful sometimes. I mean, not right now. This makes me want to warm the globe faster, but I don't know, eat some fucking tree bark or something. If you like this video and want to see more, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe with all notifications enabled, and watch all my other crap, or I'll make you grow worms out of your head. I'd like to thank Biodegradable for editing this video. They're a great editor, and you should go watch all of their things. Shout out to members of the Inner Circle. Love y'all.